Hi and welcome back to Cheeky Crypto. My name is Nick, and today, guys, we're going to jump down into the world of VeChain to talk about why buying and holding around 100,000 VET or more might become a life-changing decision. Now, I'm not a financial advisor. I can't give you financial advice. All I can do is give you my thoughts and opinions on the data and kind of where I think things are going. So do take this as educational purposes only, for entertainment purposes only, and do consult a financial advisor if you have one. As I get into this video, if you find it useful and informative, hit the like button. I do appreciate that. If you're new to the channel, subscribe, tap the bell, select all the notifications, and in doing so, you will be kept up to date with absolutely everything that we do here at Cheeky Crypto. Okay, let's jump right down into this one. Okay, so VeChain has been, it's been pretty volatile, right? We've seen some good moves to the downside from the all-time high, which I can go ahead and just mark up here. It was 27.983 according to Binance. This was on the 16th of April 2021. So we can kind of see that we've been progressing to the downside almost for 2 years now. And a lot of people do want to see a bull market, right? And a lot of people are saying that we are, in fact, in a bull market. I don't think that's necessarily the case, though. And I'm going to kind of go through why I think we're not quite there yet. A lot of that stuff is kind of stuff that we talk about every day anyway on the Bitcoin videos. But nonetheless, we'll talk a little bit around VeChain here and why 100,000 could potentially be really good for your portfolios going forward. Again, just my thoughts and opinions. And as we can kind of see, we do have this very corrective structure to the downside, right? There's nothing major to kind of concern ourselves with, right? The obvious concern that a lot of people will be having, and a lot of people who do not know and fully understand the rules of Elliott wave theory will be looking at this as a 1, 2, look, 3, 4, we're going down, right? We've got this big structured move to the downside, right? We're trending down, it's going to be massive, we're going to basically be in a multi-year bear market low, right? And for the most part, they're not 100% wrong, except for the structure. The structure of this is not a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I mean, the premise of a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 would have repercussions for no new all-time high and much deeper, retracements to the downside later, right? And it looks something like this, and it would take years and years and years before you'd see any form of recovery. This is something that is currently being mapped on something like Ethereum, but not ready for VeChain. It's not really suitable. Instead, we can take a look at this structure and we can use our fib tools to kind of help us understand, where things are and all that kind of good stuff. We'll go snap this right on that all-time high. If I can get it, there we go. Move it over to our bounce, which is here, and we can see that the 1.618, the requirement for a wave 3, would be hit down here at 1.239, and our existing low for this bear market as it stands at the moment is actually down here at 1.533. So we know that we're not doing a trending structure, we know that, but one of the things that we could be doing is actually more of a WXYXZ, and this would be a very corrective pattern. It kind of mimics the 5-wave structure, but would end up with something that would look like this. So when it comes to kind of the fundamental side of VeChain, there's so much going on, right? They are so much stronger now than they were when we had the all-time high at 27.983. Okay, so we know that they've made some serious strides in the space. They've now got a stable coin on their network. They've moved their head office from Singapore over to Dublin, I believe, in Ireland. They really are tackling the European market really well. They're moving over into the States. The partnerships that they keep making are just absolutely insane, and progression is doing really, really well. I think the adoption curve of the technology, of blockchain technology, and the fundamentals behind VeChain really do support business growth within the sector. So essentially, it looks really, really positive, and the outlook for VeChain looks really positive from a fundamental standpoint. Now, from a technical standpoint, it also looks pretty good, right? And we've kind of been through this a few times and lots of different kind of angles of taking a look at it. In this video, we're going to talk about 100,000, 200,000, 300,000, 400,000, maybe even up to 1 million VET in your portfolio, right? And you might think, well, that's a serious amount of investment, and it is. You kind of have to chip away at it over time, right? So, the price comes down. I mean, currently we're rocking a price of 2.707, but if you were to buy or buy 100,000, for example, it's going to cost you $2,700 approximately at this point. If you were to stack that up and end up with a significant portion, just, by the time you even got back to the all-time high up here that we were in April 2021, that's a very significant return on investment. Now, just from this current pricing, it might not look overly attractive. It would look like a 900% move. But if I were to kind of factor in the fact that we were probably going to revisit some of these lows, then we're going to start thinking about pretty decent gains up to the previous all-time high, right? That area there. Now, what happens if you go up into a new all-time high and you progress higher, right? And so the lower that you come in here, and the kind of cheaper you buy VeChain and the price of VET, the lower the price of VET and the dollar cost averaging on the way down, you're going to end up with more significant kind of returns from a percentage point of view, right? The number of X's that you're going to get on your investment. So from a smart money concepts point of view, we can kind of see some interesting characteristics, right? So yes, the price has started to move up. It's moved up reasonably well recently. If I snap this down on our existing low and our current high, we've moved up 112%. It's good. It's not record breaking by any stretch of the imagination, considering during the same time period we saw things like Singularity Net move 1,800%, right? Obviously there's a narrative on AI based projects right now versus more smart contract platforms like VeChain, but nonetheless, when we start retracing, dollar cost averaging opportunities present themselves quite well. Now, the thing with the smart money concepts here is we kind of see pretty clearly that we haven't changed our market structure. Okay, so we have a change of characteristics symbolizing that we are going bearish and we're going down. Okay, we have a continuation break of structure to the downside here after we rallied up. Okay, we can see that there. And then we obviously had this low June. We found the local high, no change of structures, no break of structures until we were moving down in November. And right now, we still have no change of characteristics. We are still, according to smart money concepts, in a bearish situation. Okay, we can't kind of get away from that. Okay, so when we take a look at it from this point of view, we can kind of clearly see that we have some progression to the downside still here in play. The only way to really to change this is to kind of change the characteristics of the market and then break that structure to the upside, which hasn't happened yet, not on this daily chart. So for now, it looks like we have some progression to the downside. And if we really focused in on this, we could see that those cheaper prices are likely to occur all the way down towards the 2-cent range. So that 100,000 VET that we're saying, buy and hodl for a long period of time, until the next kind of big bullish market, then we could be looking at $2,000 to buy 100,000, and you can scale that accordingly. Like I said, aim for 100, 500,000, a million VET, whatever it's going to be that you're kind of targeting out with the level of investment. You could be looking at some pretty good prices to kind of get into this particular project if you haven't done so already. Now, as I said, I'm not going to be talking fundamentals on this video so much, and we've kind of covered that a lot on the channel. So do jump down in Discord if you're looking for more details or a steer in the right direction when it comes to the fundamentals of VeChain. There is unfortunately a lot of FUD out there, and the fundamentals are fantastic if you actually kind of wade your way through a lot of the garbage that is out there. But nonetheless, join us in Discord if you're looking for a bit more of a pointer on that. From a technical standpoint, it looks like we have at least the 2-cent range to kind of come back down to. The other things that we have to bear in mind is this is an incredibly strong high. This entire red area here is a selling block. Okay, the green area is a buying block, so we do expect some kind of volatility around equilibrium. These are our fair value gaps, so we know that price is likely to gravitate down towards those, and we have a weak low down here with a small amount of buyers. So in fact, I think that's actually now expired or looking to expire down here in terms of that discounted range and buying block that is there. So essentially it does look like to me that we have basically a lot of progression to the downside for VeChain, which means even if you were looking at 100,000, you buy a little bit around 2 cent, maybe you're going to buy a little bit more at around 1.8 and maybe 1.4, 1.6, something to that effect, and you could be slowly working your way into a pretty sizable position on VeChain. Now if I bring this up into kind of why I think 100,000 as a bare minimum, we can kind of see that the expectation is to come down slightly deeper, more towards 1.2, 1.4, approximately, somewhere in this range here would kind of finish us off nicely, right? So we know that the cheaper prices are highly likely to occur gradually over time. We don't expect it to be instantaneous. We would expect it to kind of slowly work its way down a little bit more into these ranges. Now, as I kind of zoom out, we can kind of see, okay, well, there's actually a really nice range just down here. This is actually 0.00799, 0.00970. And this is the area where we find a lot of consolidation before, and we haven't yet retested it. So we tested it once over here before we rallied up into the April 2021 highs, and we can see that we haven't really come back down and retested this range. And it would be an interesting time if we did, because we can then start to argue maybe there's some form of head and shoulders going on here, and maybe there is a longer term bearish situation to kind of play out. But for now, it looks pretty reasonable that where we're aiming is kind of in line with our kind of thought pattern. Now, if we zoom out even further, we can see that there's some good expectations around the 618 and the 786 fib levels, which will put us at around 19.7 to about 47.2 cent, with the highest potential, or the higher potential, not the highest, but the higher potential being at around $1.42.9. Now, there's a lot of VeChain in circulating supply, so do have to bear in mind that there would have to be a significant squeeze on that supply in order for us to really see significant growth in the price action, right? Because essentially it is all about a balance between supply and demand, and if there's a lot of supply, it's going to be really hard to push the price. That being said, and as I said earlier in this video, the VeChain ecosystem now has a stablecoin, and with a stablecoin you get DEXs, and with a DEX you get total value locked, and you also get DeFi, and you get all these additional fantastic things that are going to be new to VeChain that VeChain haven't really had the privilege of kind of exploring in great detail. So I think in the next bullish cycle for VeChain, not only are we going to have a thriving ecosystem of NFTs and DeFi and a whole host of DEXs and various other things going on, the amount of VET that gets locked up is in total value locked on the chain, I think, is going to also increase quite dramatically. I'm not expecting massive spikes in price. I wouldn't expect to really push too much further than the 142, even if under the kind of the most bullish kind of scenario, but I could be wrong on that. And so therefore scaling this out into buying and holding more 100,000, 200,000, $500,000 or even $1 million VET could be very, very lucrative. Now, if I were to assume that we're going to come down just to about the 1.4 level and we were to rally up to that higher range of around 46 cent, then we're talking about 3,000% in gains. But if we were to go up into that higher range and we were to have those bullish expectations, then we could be looking at just short of 10,000% in gains, which would be very, very juicy indeed. So it does look like VeChain from a technical standpoint actually would be worth a potential investment. Now, also from a fundamental point of view, we can compound that and say, yeah, from a fundamental point of view, the technology is fantastic. It's written on Solidity, the same language as Ethereum. Not the best, but definitely not the worst. And it also has really great tools that basically allow big enterprise businesses like Walmart to onboard all the blockchain technology within their businesses within just a matter of weeks, which is very unheard of in this space. So VeChain Toolchain, if you haven't checked that out, you should absolutely check it out. I think it's fantastic, and it really does help, basically introduce blockchain technology to businesses around the world, which is why you see such a huge adoption curve of blockchain technology from VeChain at the enterprise level. It is the #1 go-to for businesses around the world, and breaking into America, I think, is going to be an absolute game changer for VeChain, and you're slowly seeing that actually roll out. So all in all, I think from a fundamental point of view, it's got some solid stats going behind it. It's got a solid team, solid tech, and I do expect really good things from a fundamental point of view and continued growth and continued partnerships. And then from a technical standpoint, I think the structures are representing a pretty decent ROI on investments, and I still think there's going to be some cheaper prices, and I still think that's going to play out quite nicely. But even at the current price of 2.7 cent, I still think you're going to see some really nice gains. If I were to kind of run this from the current price up towards that level, you're still talking around 5,000% in the future potentially. So there's a lot of potential to VeChain, but do bear in mind, I'm not a financial advisor. Can't give you financial advice. All I can do is tell you my thoughts and my opinions on the various different projects that I am interested in. Let me know what your thoughts are down in the comments down below. Really interested to get your thoughts on it. I will leave this video right there. Hit the like button if you found it useful and informative, and subscribe if you're new. Until the next one though, guys, have a fantastic day.